Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Today on rSpace, we're diving into a story where the customer was wrong, the girlfriend was lying, and the only thing getting repaired wasn't a device. It was a man realizing he deserves way better. My girlfriend's lesbian affair partner kept making complaints about me at my workplace. I found out, got her fired, and kicked my girlfriend to the curb. Something rather distressing is happening to me at work, and I really don't know how I'm meant to handle it. I came here to look for advice from you guys. Maybe there's something I haven't thought of that will really help me solve what I'm going through. I, 27 male, work in what is a relatively small town. The population is just a little over 12,000. It's not small enough that everyone knows everyone, but it is small enough that you know a lot of the people around. I work at an electronics store in the town, and it is basically the perfect job for me since I love tech in all forms. The job also means so much to me because it pays well, and I'm saving up for community college. I'm mentioning this so that we don't take things down the find another job route. It's a lot harder to do that here than it seems. I mean, technically, I could find another job, but the chances it will pay me as well as this one does are low. I could leave and leech off my girlfriend for a bit, but that's not a thing I want to do. I don't like depending on people to that extent. That's the background. The problem I'm facing now is that there's a person who comes into my workplace, and even though I don't know her and I'm always on my best behavior at work, I've received 3 different complaints over the last 4 weeks. It doesn't make sense to me because I've worked at that place for 3 years now, and I've never received a single complaint. All of a sudden, I start getting complaints, and it's not like I've changed my behavior. Neither is there anything going on in my life that might be changing my disposition. The thing is, I'm 99% sure that I know the person who is making the complaints. I first saw her 5 or 6 weeks ago. She came into the store and said that she was just looking around. I helped her out, though that first day was off. She didn't buy anything and she was looking at me weird. I asked her if she was new to town since I hadn't seen her before, and her answer was that she'd been around. The first time wasn't uneventful enough. However, the second time that she came into the store, she was a lot more aggressive. She described what she wanted to buy. I explained our options, but she kept saying that I didn't understand what she was saying. To be honest, I did start to get a little irritated, but I didn't think that I let it show. The next day, when opening, my boss told me that someone had complained about me. She was the only person I had had anything close to friction with, so my assumption was that it was her. She's come in about twice a week since then. Sometimes she buys something minimal like HDMI cables. Other times she just looks around and doesn't get anything. A few of those times she interacts with me. And ever since the first time, I've been painfully polite and civil with her. Despite that, the complaints would come in, even though I didn't have any issue with anyone. My boss is starting to get annoyed, and I watched over the cameras with him, but there was nothing close to what was being described in the complaints, because it was being claimed that I was rude, unattentive, and sometimes made inappropriate comments. I think there's some kind of vendetta that this person has against me, since I'm just going to assume that it is her. The thing is, I don't know her. I don't even know her name, so I can't figure out why she'd have an issue with me. I guess that's what I'm really trying to figure out. I'll try to figure out what her name is. If anyone happens to know, if I can get that, I'm sure I'll be able to figure out a lot more of that. In the meantime, I look forward to any advice that you all can provide for me that might help in handling the situation. Update 1. Following my post about all the complaints that are being made about me at work, this is a pretty important update. I've learned a lot about the situation. Even though there's a lot more to learn, I have a very good starting point right now. There are a few people in town who know a lot about whatever might be going on at a time, so the first thing that I did was to find a few of those folks who I was familiar with and ask them if they knew anything about the person I was describing. Based off the description alone, I couldn't get anything, but when I managed to sneak a screenshot from the security cams in my workplace, I got one person who said that they were sure her name was Rebecca. He didn't know much about her. He said that she moved into town about 2 or 3 years ago, and he saw her in bars here and there. He said that she was a troublemaker, as far as he knew, but her kind of trouble usually had to do with alcohol and fights, not with acting like a Karen. I don't like to judge people by their appearances, but his description did sort of fit the vibe that I had of her. She was young, but heavily tattooed, and the time she had had an issue with me, the first time she came into the store, she seemed rather aggressive. When I got to work the next day, I asked my manager about the complaints that I had received. He told me that all 3 of them had been phoned in. The first one was very soon after the issue I had with Rebecca, which is what led me to believe it was her. The other 2 times, I never had a dispute with her, but considering that I have never had to deal with complaints before her, I still assumed it had to do with her. The fact that the phone number that made those calls, which was hard to pinpoint from the call logs, but we were eventually able to figure it out, was the same all 3 times, so it came from the same person. What I needed was to be 100% sure that it actually came from Rebecca. I tried to search the number online to see if I'd get any hits, but I got nothing. I tried everything I could think of, tech-wise, but nothing worked. In the end, I decided to get a PI to trace the number to its owner. I knew they would find that a lot easier than I did, since it was something they did on a pretty much daily basis. It didn't take up to 24 hours. I found out that her name was indeed Rebecca, which confirmed that she was the one who had been making those complaints about me. The real question was why. Maybe she was so affronted by the way she thought I treated her the first time that she turned me into a project of hate for herself. Besides that, I got her address, which I'm not going to use for anything, at least not yet. However, I'm sure it will be helpful if these things truly start to get out of hand. Right now, what I have is her name and where she lives. I know she tends to get into trouble, and I might just be one part of that. However, I don't go to parties or bars very much. I don't cause trouble. There's very little reason for her to have it out for me the way she does. I know that my boss trusts me, but obviously, if I end up becoming too much of an issue with all the complaints, I wouldn't be surprised if I get fired. That's why I'm trying to figure out the situation before it gets to that point. My boss asked if I know her, but I said that I don't. He can't think of why a random person would make false complaints about me, and neither can I. Ultimately, with her full name, I can do some digging, and I hope that I'll find something which will explain what is going on. You didn't do anything to cause this. She's projecting something onto you, or she's bored and she's got her own problems. But that's on her, not you. You're doing everything right. Just keep your head on straight, stay professional, and don't let her pull you into whatever storyline she's trying to create. And if anything shifts or gets worse, tell your boss immediately. Update 2. Here's another update, and I promise that this is a very good one because I've learned something incredible. That's going to need some deep diving, but I feel like I'm almost there. Almost. I don't use social media that much. I'm big on Reddit and X, and that's pretty much it. I'm not an Instagram person, and I last used Facebook like 10 years ago. However, it occurred to me that since Rebecca has been living in town for about 3 years now, she has to have made some friends, and I was hoping that I knew some of those friends. So I went to Facebook on the computer at work, and I searched up her name. I found her account. Fortunately for me, she was still very active on Facebook. From there, I went to her friends list, and I looked through all the names one by one. There were quite a few that I recognized and I was comfortable enough to talk to, so I started to write their names down. If I could ask them about her afterwards, I'd probably be able to figure out exactly what her issue was with me. The real shocker there was when I saw Amelia, my girlfriend's name. Very stupidly, I admit, besides when I just knew that someone was making complaints about me and I discussed it with her, I haven't brought this issue to my girlfriend's attention, even after I learned Rebecca's name. The reason is I wasn't confident that she'd take my side and how fixated I was on it. It would probably be her dismissing it and telling me it was just some troublemaker who I don't need to worry about. At that point, I knew that I had to talk to my girlfriend as soon as I could. So as soon as work was over, I waited for her outside work and we talked there. I asked her if she knew a Rebecca, and she seemed rather surprised that I would ask that. "How do you know Rebecca?" was her response to that, but I just asked her to answer my question. So she told me that she did know Rebecca. She seemed uneasy, and my first thought was that she and Rebecca had gotten into some trouble together in the past. I let her know that Rebecca was the person who had been making trouble for me at work. She was the one who had complained about me. It was very hard for me to read her reaction. She knew that I had been reported 3 times by someone, but this was the first time she was finding out that it was someone she knew. I asked her if she knew what Rebecca had against me because I hadn't even known her a few months prior. She told me that she had no idea what she would have against me. After a pause, she asked me if I was sure that it was Rebecca who had called in to complain about me. I told her that I had gotten a phone number of the person who had called all 3 times and given it to a PI. The PI was the whole reason I knew her first and last name, and I was able to find her. She said that she didn't know Rebecca super well, but it was uncharacteristic behavior for her. I told her that I had learned that Rebecca was known for making trouble at bars, so I wasn't sure how uncharacteristic it could be. She shrugged and told me that she'd talk to her if she ran into her, and I let her know that I'd appreciate it. I was very tired of my job being toyed with. I hadn't done anything to her that was worth the trouble she was trying to put me through. Here's the thing. I feel my girlfriend is hiding something. I don't know what it is, but I feel like she knows something about Rebecca that she doesn't want to say, and I can't figure out why she wouldn't want to tell me, unless she and Rebecca were secretly BFFs and she was trying to protect her. I'm going to do my digging though, because I need to figure out the situation. And once I can, I'm sure there'll be some way for me to stop the false complaints. That's pretty much all I want right now, especially because I'm not even the kind of guy who is ever trying to make trouble with people. That's not me. Update 3. I'd figured out the truth, and I'm still trying to come to terms with it, to be honest. My heart was been broken, and I'm struggling to put this all together right now. I thought this was going to be a situation with someone being an a-hole, and they're getting tired, and I'd be back to my normal life. But nope, it's a lot more than that. I found out who Rebecca is and why she has it out for me. I thank my gut because I simply followed my gut feeling from the time that I asked my girlfriend what she knew about Rebecca. She acted off, like she knew more about her than she wanted to say. I told myself that I was going to dig through her phone, even though it isn't the kind of thing that I like to do. I went over to her place to spend the night, and once she was asleep, I got her phone and went through her messages. I looked for a contact stored as Rebecca, or Becky, or Becca, and I found her saved as Becca, with a heart after it. To be fair, my girlfriend saved a lot of names with emojis, but typically for people closer to her. The very last conversation they had was Amelia telling her to chill and back off from me, because she was causing problems for me, and I had already confronted her about Rebecca. Rebecca said that she wasn't going to stop, which was true because I received another complaint the day after I talked to Amelia, claiming that I made inappropriate comments. "You said he's the only thing between the two of us, so I'll find a way to get him to give up." Those were Rebecca's words to Amelia. When I figured out the full context, I wanted to lose my mind. Amelia and Rebecca were seeing each other. I don't know if they considered themselves to be dating or if they were just sleeping with each other, but they had something romantic going on. Rebecca wanted to be with Amelia, but my girlfriend was happy with me as her boyfriend. Apparently, cheating on me with Rebecca was enough for her, and she didn't want to replace me with anyone. However, Rebecca wanted more. She was angry that I was the reason why the person she loved didn't love her back, so she decided to take it out on me. I was completely unaware of what they were doing behind the scenes, but it didn't matter to Rebecca. I didn't see how the complaints were going to ruin our relationship, but I assumed she was just trying to find some way to kind of lash out of me. I'm sure it was working for her, especially when my girlfriend told her that it was getting to me. That probably only made her feel better. My mind was spinning, but I managed to take screenshots. I got up and left her apartment in the middle of the night. I couldn't stay there any longer. She was really concerned when she woke up and I wasn't there, but I made some excuse as to how I really had to get somewhere, and it had been urgent. I'm going to have to bring this entire thing crashing down, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm so angry and I'm just so depressed, and I'm going to use both of those emotions to ensure that I see this thing through to the end. Update 4. Besides someone trying to make me lose my job, my life was pretty good before. It's turned into a mess now, but I won't say that I hate it, because the trash has been taken out, and if this is what I have to deal with when I get back to a point where I can have a normalcy again, I don't mind it. I confronted Amelia, and I did it as soon as I gathered my thoughts. It was after she got off work. We were standing outside, and I handed her a box full of things that had been in my house. She looked extremely confused, but I explained what I was giving her. She said she could see that, but she wanted to know why I was returning her things. I told her that I was breaking up with her. I let her catch her breath. I told her that I knew about Rebecca. I told her that I knew that they were more than friends. I pointed out that the only reason I had been dealing with someone trying to get me fired over the last few months was that she was cheating on me with another woman. If that hadn't been happening, I wouldn't have gone through any of that. It was horrible to me, because it was bad enough to simply be cheated on, but to have to deal with more than that because of a jealous affair partner? I didn't deserve that. And I told her as much. I didn't deserve to have to go through that. She started to cry and say that she was sorry. She was trying to touch me tenderly, but I kept brushing her off. I told her to tell her woman to stay away from me because if she didn't, I was going to get the police involved since she was harassing me with no basis to it. I told her that I hoped that she had a miserable future. It surprised me when I said it, but I meant it. I don't have all the money in the world, but I loved that girl with all my heart, and I got paid in betrayal. It simply wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair at all. As for Rebecca, it was very easy for me to find where she worked. She worked at the till in one of the grocery stores in town, and I went over to see their manager. I had all my evidence. I pointed out how one of their employees had been deliberately making my life hell. I acknowledged that it had nothing to do with her actual work, but she was unpredictable, and it was up to them if they wanted someone like that in their establishment. I heard that she had gotten fired, which made me happy. I did expect that she might come to my store to cause issues, but she didn't. She was probably happy enough that I was out of the picture, just as she wanted, that it didn't matter if I hit it back at her. I don't know if Amelia will accept her, to be honest. If she does, it means Rebecca won in the end. If they don't end up together, I hope that things go terribly for the two of them. I do know that Amelia misses me, because she sent me long messages every night since we broke up, but I read them but never reply. One day, I'm going to block her. I need her to go through that pain. I want her to realize that she lost something she'll never get back, and in the end, I'll move on from it. For now, that's what I'm focused on. Moving on. I hope it happens easily for me because I need a break. Your instincts were dead on from the beginning, OP. Amelia absolutely knew more than she was saying, and the way she kept brushing off your concerns makes a lot more sense now. She was trying to manage the situation so she didn't get exposed. Amelia messaging you now? Yeah, that tracks. People always suddenly realize what they've lost when you stop playing the role they took for granted. But you're right not to respond. Closure is a gift, and she doesn't get to demand it from you. Real talk. What's the moment you realize someone in your life genuinely thought you were too dumb to connect the dots? Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.